Hello, this is Corrine Robinson and I'm going to show you one of my favourite cards using my second signature collection. So we're going to use lots of different elements. So I'm going to show you how I would put together one of my cards that I think is going to show you some of the best elements from all the die cuts. So first of all, I've just created a card base and all I've done is folded a piece of card in half. And onto there, I've used my faux stitches. So I've used the, not the biggest, but the next size in. And can you see I've cut it in this lovely, I think it's officially raspberry. So I'm going to pop that onto the card base just with a flat tape. And I'm going to pop that onto there, just like that. So I've got a nice border all the way around the outside. But look at this lovely faux stitch that's just showing. It looks really effective. Then the next layer I've done is I've created this paper myself using my USB. So the USB is from the first collection, but it will be available on the show with my second collection because it's so popular. And what we've done is we've given you backgrounds and we've also given you overlays and digital images so that you can create your own multi-layered backgrounds. So I've cut this out again using the next size down faux stitch, but doesn't that look effective? So the third layer is taken down. So this is the fourth of the faux stitches. So you can see what I did was I cut, let me move that out of the way, I cut a rectangle of white card and then I used my interlinking frames. So these are interlinked panels. So can you see these? So this is that one that goes down there. So what I've done is these come in two parts. So if you were to use this one on its own and cut into your cardstock, you would just have this beautiful design inside your cardstock. But we've also given you an outside edge. So what I've done here is I've used that one there and then I've just popped the outside edge on. So this has now given me this really interesting shape. You see, so we've got the nice panel with this. Now every one of these I have hand drawn. I cut out some little hexagons and I drew around them so that I knew that each and every one would interlink as I wanted it to. And I'm going to pop that onto my card base. So I'm just raising that up with a few foam pads. So pop that onto there. Now what you've got to remember is you also need to put a little bit of foam pads at the end, otherwise it'll dip. It does make it a little bit more complicated because it's very, very fine. If you take off all the backing, it should work just fine. Take that off. Oops, you see, and if you're not careful, you end up pulling it all off. If you struggle, you could always use something like your pin flare. There we go. Let's take that one, and then this last one. There we go. So that will now fit onto here. So I'm just going to fit it where it should have gone. So I've got the same border around there, but then it runs in and it shows you the nice pattern paper from behind. Now I just want to show you these. So these are my interlinked frames. So I've got three different designs. And again, these are just some designs that I drew. So we've got the lovely square with the circles. We've got the three interlinking circles with the extra little circles on there. And we've got this one that was circle, but then with the foliage coming off the edge. And what I designed these for is to look like the chipboard shapes that we all spend so much money buying. Now I've cut these out of white just here, but look at the difference if I cut these out of craft card. Don't they look like those chipboard die cuts that you buy? Now that would probably be about £1 or so per chipboard element, but we make them for pence because we've got them out of our dies. I just think it's such an effective addition to your crafty stash to be able to do this. So I love this square one and I think it works really well with the hexagons because it's different shapes, all, you know, sort of all working together. So we can then glue that onto our card. Now what you'll see is I've got 3 layers there, and that gives it a bit of stability and it also enhances the look of that chipboard effect. So we can glue that one onto here, just like this. There we go. A little bit of glue all the way around the outside. just making sure I've not missed any bits. And if you're unsure, just tap off the excess and then pop it on the card. So I'm going to use it nice, pick out that square and then put it straight onto the card. There we go. Right, so that one's going to look nice. So we've got the two different geometric shapes. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to look at the flowers. Now I've given you 3 flowers and 3 foliage. So this is just 2 of them, and you can see I've cut them out of patterned cardstock. So these again are ones that I've hand drawn. So don't expect them to be symmetrical or anything like this, because these are all hand drawn. So they are quite a natural shape. But what we've given you, so if I pick out the dies, there's the die. And I've also given you the stamps. Now excuse these because these are already well loved. So what we've got is we've got the die cut and the stamp. Now it just takes me a minute sometimes, there we go, to line them up. But those line up absolutely perfectly so that when you stamp them, they stamp just, can you see, like that. Now it's up to you whether you want to do a black stamp, and I'm going to show you some where I've stamped on with colour, but for this effect I wanted the black. So let me get my load and fold. I would definitely recommend using a stamping platform for this. So all I would do is pop that in there, line it back up again. That lines up just there. Now I'm just making sure I've got it over the top. Pick it up and then add in my ink and then pop it down. Making sure I've got all the bits. Perfect, absolutely perfect every time. So we just would clean that off and that can go back onto the sheet and I can lift this one off. There we go. So I do that with all of them. And then it's just about adding shape and dimension. And this is where I really love these. So this is where I want a bit smaller ball tool. Really enjoy working with these flowers. So just add shape. Now it's up to you whether you could do this one, we could put the different shapes together, or we've got this one which is a 6-petal one. There we go, I'm just going to drag them. You can shape from the back or from the front, it's entirely up to you, but just mix and match them however you want. So I'm going to be quite regimented now and I'm just going to pop them same shape together, and I'm using my foam mat to help me with my shaping because these are made out of card, so they're quite firm. So I'm going to pop a little bit of hot glue, and the reason I'm using hot glue is so that when I pop it down just like that and then I press with my ball tool, it will shape and hold its shape. So I've got a couple that I've made earlier and you can see these are exactly the same, and all I've done is I've just added a little bit of sparkle to the petals and then a contrasting orange gem to the centre. Now the orange looks a bit strange there, but when we bring back the card base and we look at this and we can see the orange picking up with the pink, all of a sudden that works really well. So before we finish it, I've got my sentiment. Now I'm also giving you 3 sentiments plus, and if I can remember rightly, 30 coordinating word stamps. So the sentiments are nice and flowing because I wrote them. So these I think are probably some of the finest sentiments that you can find. I don't think you'll have seen many, if any, that give you the height but the fine detail, and they pop perfectly onto their outline. There we go, don't worry, that glue is going to dry, and that is going to go onto my card. But what I've got is I've got sentiments to go with them, and they're all the different words that you might want. And if I show you these, if I show you the pack, so you've got birthday, it's, much, heartfelt, time, awesome, contagious, happiness, saying, but you can make up sentiments that go with your thanks, hello and smile. So what I can put here is heartfelt thanks, and I love the contrast. I'm going to bring that down, I think, actually. I'm going to bring that over to here and I can pop that there. Let's put that on there. It doesn't matter, wherever I plan it, it always changes slightly. So we can say heartfelt thanks, which I think is quite a nice sentiment. So we can glue that one onto here. We can I put a little bit of foam tape on the back of the sentiment. It's nice to have that contrast between the script and the typeface. I'm just going to take my flowers off. I've got a little bit, I think they call it sisal, because I just wanted to soften it a bit. And then I'm just going to take my flowers. Now you've got foliage as well. I'm not going to pop any foliage on at the moment. And I'm just going to pop these onto here. Whoops. And then just bring them in just like that. So I'm going to really cluster them up really tight. But you can cut these out of whatever material works for you. Now, how about that? There is so much texture, there is so much dimension and so much going on in there. I hope you're going to like this collection. I've really enjoyed working with it, and I can't wait to bring it to show you later this week.